the search is over. Police now have the man suspected of the deadly shooting at the University of Virginia in custody. We have the latest.
Racism in the classroom, a viral video making headlines today after a white teacher makes a shocking statement in front of his black students.
A move into a new era as John Lewis statue is set to replace the Confederate Memorial in Georgia. We have details on when the statue is expected to be installed.
And a major payday for one former FedEx employee. We'll tell you all about the lawsuit that awarded her over $300 million.
Hello to you, soulmates. We have plenty to talk about on this Monday, November 14th. Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report. I'm Courtney Hicks.
And I'm Nicordelai Corte. You know, each day we are honored to stand right here behind this desk to take you on a journey across Black America.
That's right, bringing you our news, our views, and our voice. So, topping today's news, a suspect is now in custody after 3 football players were shot fatally on the University of Virginia campus Sunday night. University officials said this during a news conference. The players had just returned from a bus trip to Washington to see a play and were attacked as the bus pulled into a campus parking garage. For nearly 12 hours, the university was under a shelter-in-place order as the authorities searched for the suspect, who is identified as Christopher Darnell Jones, a student at the school. The university president identified the 3 students that you saw there as Devin Chandler of Virginia Beach, Lavelle Davis of Dorchester, South Carolina, and Deshaun Perry of Miami. There were 2 other people wounded in this incident. Classes have been canceled for today.
Now off to Chicago, where the Obama Presidential Center halts construction after a noose is discovered, as builders of the Chicago project are now offering a $100,000 reward to identify those responsible. Now, according to People.com, the Lakeside Alliance, a group of Black-owned construction firms spearheading the project, say that they're working with the Chicago Police Department to identify those responsible for the act of hate discovered last Thursday morning at the site in the Jackson Park area of the city's south side. Now, in a statement, the Alliance said, quotes, "We have zero tolerance for any form of bias or hate." They are also suspending all on-site operations to provide another series of onboarding trainings and conversations that address these issues. The groundbreaking of the Obama Presidential Center took place in September 2021. The $500 million construction project will ultimately be a campus intended to expand upon Obama's legacy of public service.
You know, I find this, so interesting, because if you backtrack, back when they were trying to get this building established, this vision established, there are a lot of folks who came up against them because they were a little perturbed about this project being used on public property for a private project. Mm-hmm. I know there was a lawsuit. I do remember a judge throwing that lawsuit out, and so they were able to move forward with this building. So if this is something real, that it appears to be, it definitely needs to be investigated. But I'm hoping it's nothing hokey, in the sense that there are a lot of people, even though a lot of us may love the Obamas and their legacy, there are a lot of people who, for various reasons, do not want to see this building take place. And this could maybe be a ploy to sort of kind of continue to derail this building, building. It
could be, who knows? But we do know from our reporting just last week that there's been an uptick in hate crimes in Chicago, targeting Black folks, Jewish folks, LGBTQ folks. And so this is just another plot point, another data point, another example of the surge in hate that we're seeing across the country. And so hopefully the Obama construction folks will be able to put this incident behind them, because there's nothing anybody can do to take away from the legacy of President and Mrs. Obama.
Yeah, 2 different perspectives. We'll see what comes of it as we continue to keep our eye on it, for sure.
Well, speaking of folks that we're keeping an eye on, a lot of folks are keeping their eye on somebody who's being considered a front runner to replace U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and he may have his moment as minority leader if Democrats lose control of the chamber and Pelosi steps down, according to staffers. We're talking about Representative Hakeem Jeffries, who lives in Prospect Heights and represents parts of Brooklyn and Queens, New York. He is the 5th ranking Democrat in Congress as caucus chair and says he wants to move up in the ranks. When asked about the possibility of replacing Speaker Pelosi, a spokesman for the congressman would not comment on future plans, but says he's committed to completing the business of the people this year.
All right, let's go to Louisiana. That's it. 5 states gave voters the ability to decide whether or not to remove language in their constitution that allowed slavery as criminal punishment. One state making headlines for not banning slavery, you guessed it, Louisiana. Voters in Alabama, Oregon, Tennessee, and Vermont voted Tuesday to adjust the language in their state constitutions that could curtail the use of prison labor, which civil rights advocates say is equivalent to slavery. Now, following last week's election day, more than a dozen states still have language in their constitutions that allow slavery and involuntary servitude for inmates. Back in 2018, Colorado voters became the first to approve removal of the slavery loophole, according to the Associated Press.
Speaking of elections and voting, heading into this year's midterms, voting rights groups were concerned that restrictions in Republican-leaning states triggered by false claims surrounding the 2020 election just might jeopardize access to the ballot box for many voters. Presumably, thanks to voter education efforts and reminders of efforts by folks making it harder for us to vote, right now there is no evidence of mass voter disenfranchisement. A new voter advocacy poll shows that there have been no widespread reports of voters being turned away at the polls, and turnout, while down from last midterm cycle 4 years ago, appeared to have high turnout in Georgia. According to the Brennan Center for Justice, an estimated 33 restrictive voting laws in 20 states, including Georgia, were in effect for this year's midterms. However, many of these laws have largely been put on hold this year or will take effect later. New concerns, however, sparked as black voters in Georgia are not expected to return to the ballot box at the same rate on December 6th to decide the winner of the runoff election between Herschel Walker and incumbent U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock. Sounds like a challenge to me.
All righty. Okay, Birmingham, Alabama, your mayor, Randall Woodfin, is set to testify this week at a congressional hearing, all in hopes of decriminalizing marijuana. Woodfin, who pardoned people with municipal misdemeanor marijuana convictions and those with prior simple marijuana possession convictions in Birmingham, will be among 7 witnesses at this week's hearing. Woodfin says he looks forward to a frank discussion about how we can work across the aisle to fix this broken system, and says his city is a leader in this fight to end the injustices that cannabis prohibition has created in our communities.
Now off to Texas, where in Pflugerville, Texas, an independent school district teacher has been placed on administrative leave after a video surfaced of him describing himself as ethnocentric. Yeah, the teacher has not been identified, but he's a teacher at Boyles Middle School. The video posted on social media shows the teacher, who is white, saying at one point that he believes his race is superior to others. Take a listen.
Deep down in my heart, I'm ethnocentric, which means I think my race is the superior one.
Oh,
Wait, no, let me finish.
So white is better than all.
No, let me finish.
Go ahead.
I think everybody thinks that. They're just not honest about
Hey,
it.
I'm not racist though. I like all types of colors.
Did I say I don't like people?
People only think
Wait,
that.
so you said you are what? You are racist?
You saying you're like
You're
I think
racist?
everybody's a racist at that level.
No, you said you are racist.
I did. Yeah, I'm trying to be honest.
Yes, I'm racist.
No, I'm not saying it again. I've said it enough.
So you're racist.
I think I slightly saw you stop speaking.
Put your phone up.
I actually respected you for a while, but like
I'm putting your
now
phone up.
I don't even got no more respect for you.
Put it up.
Yeah, for real. I don't think I got respect for him no more, bro.
You know, you should have more respect because I'm deep down in my heart.
The Pflugerville School District released a statement saying they were, quote, aware of an inappropriate conversation and that the interaction does not align with our core beliefs as a district. The district went on to say that the advisory activity was inappropriate, inaccurate, and unacceptable.
But have they offered up any what I want to say, consequences for this particular teacher? We have not read about him being fired or suspended without pay as things continue to be investigated. I find that just as disturbing as his comments. And let's be clear, I saw this, break on social media. You always got to look at the comments. The comments will give you everything because we are so honest as a people. This happened in the Austin, Texas area. And if you know a little bit about, Austin, it's one of those feel-good cities. Come one, come all, love, be yourself. And so for, this particular educator to be feeling this way really doesn't lend itself to what the city of Austin claims to be all about. In the comments, in the social media posts that I saw, a lot of people who have either from Austin or moved to that area have experienced, a lot of racial incidents, which are in direct conflict with why they moved to a place like Austin. But I think you also have to keep in mind it's still Texas. And I know we have a lot of wonderful soulmates living in various areas in that state. But we do know, unfortunately, what kind of rhetoric has been demonstrated from the state of Texas and plenty other states. But we're talking this particular time about Texas.
I really want to say bravo to the young person
That's
in
right.
the video that attempted to challenge what was being said in the classroom. He almost had this sort of look of disbelief on his face, and he asked the teacher to can you run that back? Can you say that?
What did you just
say that
say?
again? Did
That's
you just
right.
say what I think you said?
That's right.
And I think it's important that we continue to challenge people's assumptions, that we challenge people's beliefs and ideologies. And so it was really good to see a young person who may not have had a whole lot of experience doing that, doing exactly that. We need more of that, more folks challenging people's beliefs, their stereotypes, especially folks that appear to be peddling in hate and racist ideology.
Yeah, the comments mentioned that they felt the young people handled that very well.
Yeah.
A lot of talk about, well, maybe this is why we need to really consider homeschooling and or, arming our young people with the type of knowledge that they'd be able to come back and let a parent know that this is the kind of conversation we've had, and to be more aware that people feel this way, even our educators, some of our most trusted people, and how to go about handling that. But they did very well.
I think
that.
Look, Whitney Houston said, "Teach them well and let them lead
That's
the
right.
way." There it was, right there on the screen. They're leading the way.
Indeed. Okay, moving on to Tulsa, where a second body of a possible victim of the 1921 Tulsa race massacre has been found to have a gunshot wound. This is according to city officials. Now, forensics discovered that one of the 3 sets of remains exhumed last week contained one victim with a gunshot wound. Now, in an effort to eventually confirm the remains are those of massacre victims, investigators are seeking signs of trauma, such as gunshot wounds based on accounts at the time. According to city officials, a portion of the bullet was removed from the head of the remains. The person's race and whether the remains are those of a massacre victim are yet to be determined.
Just terrible. Well, while we're talking about our ancestors, it's important to point out that as the movement to remove and replace Confederate monuments around the country continues, one such monument is lifting up the likeness and image of a civil rights icon. A monument honoring the late civil rights leader, Representative John Lewis, is one step closer to completion. This all comes after Georgia commissioners approved a plan to erect the statue in replacement of a demolished monument that celebrated Confederate history. Now, the board in January 2021 first approved a resolution to build a statue honoring Lewis in place of the Confederate obelisk monument, which toppled in June 2020 after a Decatur judge ruled it a threat to public safety due to regular vandalism. Lewis, a longtime U.S. congressman and civil rights icon, died at the age of 80 following a battle with pancreatic cancer in July 2020. He was one of the original freedom fighters that challenged segregation in 1961 and helped organize the March on Washington with Martin Luther King Jr. in 1963.
And the 114th Kojic Convention, Church of God in Christ, just in case you didn't know, is preparing to come to a close in the coming days after returning to Memphis, Tennessee for the first time in more than 10 years, bringing out thousands to the city and boosting that city's local economy. After 10 years of the event being in St. Louis and recently being canceled, we all know due to the pandemic, organizers signed a 3-year agreement to bring the convocation back to Memphis. Organizers expect that over a week, nearly 25,000 could attend the conference, which tourism officials tell folks that would translate into $33 million, a huge boost that is to the local economy.
Well, from Tennessee to Wakanda.
I'll take it. I'll take that trip.
Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, the overwhelming winner at the box office, but the film fell just a little bit short of the goal of grabbing the biggest domestic opening of the year. Crunching the numbers, the sequel brought in a staggering $180 million across the United States.
A different Marvel film, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, still holds 2022's highest debut at just more than $187 million. And Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport got in on the fun. You might have seen this go viral over the weekend as they tweeted this photo of a sign listing a 7:30 p.m. departure to Wakanda with the words, "The bags are packed. Hashtag Wakanda Forever." And I know, right?
Where we going?
Okay, and if you didn't know, much of the Marvel, or Marvel, as my granny says, I've said that before, flick was actually filmed right there in Atlanta. So, you know, taking a trip to Wakanda isn't too far off. You know, seeing as though they filmed it, you know, right there in Atlanta.
That's incredible.
An amazing film from what I heard. I don't want to talk too much about it because I still haven't seen it. Right. But from what I understand, they are saying that, you know, there are other folks who maybe were set up to carry that movie, but they said Miss Angela Bassett, honey, if she does not get an Oscar for this, there is a problem. There will be consequences, repercussions and consequences.
I mean, really, even just an Oscar for her body of work. She has played so many characters. She's brought so many characters to life.
Yeah.
And the character of Queen Mother, Queen Mother in Black Panther is one of those characters that I think, you know, is unforgettable. Movie history will remember the Queen Mother.
That's right.
Of Wakanda.
So we'll have to look forward to it. We're going to do it for Thanksgiving. We're going to save that for our Thanksgiving outings, our family. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. I can't wait to see it too. Still ahead, cold and flu season is well underway with wishy-washy weather around the nation.
Wishy-washy, the latest on the new Omicron variant, and more after the break. You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report. Stay close.